Ireland to the BBC. So he's here to touch on what he does with the agency and his international experience and kind of tie the whole global landscape together with the local market as well as the global market through his experiences. So,
thank you. That was really wonderful, Darryn. I'm sure you practiced that, really. Like Darryn said, I'm Johnston. I'm with the AJC. I'm the manager for community and customer engagement. And when Darryn asked me to talk to you, it's about international and I guess communicating to different cultures. I've been abroad a lot of times, so just to jump right in it, before I start, I want to play this video for you. It'll make no sense until the end of the presentation because a part of my job is communicating to our employees as well as external. And so one thing I do is make the communication world a lot more fun for advertising. So hopefully this works. Now I gotta find the volume.
Good morning, AJC advertising team. I'm Channel 2's Jovita Moore.
And I'm Justin Farmer.
We want to wish you good luck for the upcoming quarter.
And we've come across a new trend called collaborative boot camp, and it's really picking up steam within the Cox Media Group.
Here's a look into the Skip Wiggins Collaborative Boot Camp.
So Darryn's used to these. I am goofy, I am fun. I try to find new ways to invigorate the advertising department. So the whole point of this, can anyone take a guess?
Are you ready to diversify your revenue?
Huh? Close.
Diversify their revenue, yeah!
So I'm using a parody. Of course, you've all seen the parodies of buy act now, lose weight, whatever.
Diversifying your revenue with the AJC.
I won't subject you to everything else. But, alright, so the point of that, I know you're like, what the hell did this guy just show me? So one thing that I'm very good at is making sure my audience is captured. The best thing I've learned in communicating is making sure I get their attention. And one way I do that is making people laugh at the beginning of a meeting. And so Darryn can attest, I get the advertising team up and laughing and engaged before anything happens. So, but we are going to talk about more on the international level. So quick survey, who's traveled abroad and where?
Germany, England, Belgium, Austria.
Love it.
China.
Love it.
Most of Europe, South America, Central Asia.
Awesome.
Sweden, Denmark, Ukraine, Mexico, China, and Argentina.
Sweet.
Western Europe and Jamaica.
Awesome. So, all right, then worked abroad.
Ukraine, Turkey, Peru, England, and that's it.
Awesome.
Argentina.
And then reactions, the people that did work abroad longer than just visiting, what were the people's reactions of when you say American or from US?
I was told I was too skinny.
Too skinny.
I was too skinny.
Okay. Any other reaction when you were working abroad from just people? What time frame was this? Was this recent?
Yeah.
Okay, so to my lovely time abroad, I was during the Bush era. So let's just say there was a difference in the cultural of people asking me and almost berating me, and you could tell it was a big difference in the way they wanted to react with me, because they really berated of, why is your president making these decisions? Why are they doing all these things? So throughout the rest of this, things to listen for as I'm talking through. Be heard. Learn to find the way you communicate. I'm a big advocate. Obviously, I do it through comedy and theater. That's just my background. take a risk. Obviously, you guys, most of you got on a plane to go somewhere else besides, California or Seattle. Observation and learning from your surroundings. Obviously, take in from as soon as you land what's different between what you were used to and what you're about to experience to. Adaptation to a new culture. If you don't adapt, you're not going to survive over there. And then form your plan on how you're going to communicate and the ways that you're going to communicate with the new culture and society that you're in. So, speaking of different cultures, just so you know a little bit about me, I'm from West Virginia. Another good old state that has a good stigma to it. I seem to only live in states that have nice stigmas attached to it. So, I actually was born and raised in a log cabin too. So that's really fun. So found acting and public speaking at an early age. So I found that was my way. I knew how to communicate to people. I could be in front of, eyes connected, going forward, bam, let's do it. So after I discovered acting at age 9, I just kept going through it, and then eventually, obviously, I went to college. Co-college in the lovely town of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And again, West Virginia to Iowa, you got, again, some nice stigmas attached to it, even though Iowa's a great state to go get an education from. And I ended up getting a double major in sociology and theater, so I can analyze you and entertain you at the same time. So, and that's something that's kind of fun that I do at work currently, because I'm very good with emotional intelligence, and I'm also good at just reading people and saying, all right, are you really taking this in? There's that gloss factor, so if I see any of you start yawning, I will start singing or something like that to make sure you're paying attention. So, getting to the nitty-gritty. My work adventures. London, England, and Chiang Mai, Thailand. All through my life, I feel the best way I'm getting to the next level or the next step. Yes, I can take a test to prove myself that I can do the job, but it's the connection that actually got me that job. So, how I got to London to work at the BBC. I wish to say that I won some amazing prize or I took some test and the BBC said this bright kids should work for us. But my next door neighbor's to my parents' son was the global editor for the English department at the BBC. So I was planning on going to New York City for a semester to go be and study in New York for a whole complete entire semester. But London came a calling. The parents arranged this. I just said, all right, I'll go to London. So, and then Chiang Mai, Thailand was another connection. My Shakespeare professor helped start the English department at the Chiang Mai University in Chiang Mai, Thailand. So I'll get into that story a little bit later. So let's focus on the British Broadcasting Corporation. What did I actually do there? So I worked for the Global English Department, and it was all about communicating. The Global English Department at the BBC, it's not necessarily like they're producing news. They're producing programs to teach English as a second language. So I was thrown right in the thick of things. I worked directly for the editor, and I basically helped them develop programs and come up with ideas of getting two-way communication from people and in different countries from Africa to Eastern Europe and even in Asia. So this is funny because this is so going to date me, and I love the fact that 11 years ago, this is what I was doing at the BBC. I was actually cutting radio tape and forming their radio programs together using this machine. So now we can do it on our iPads. We can do it. So again, my experience at the British Broadcasting Corporation is so much different than it would be right now. I could walk in and use my iPad to do all the sound bites and everything that I need to do for that programming. But so again, we focused on business language to go, which I was able to be a voice for the 10-part series. So I have an example. No, that's just another picture. All right, so another example. I have to turn this up Um, terrible noise. So this is an example of an average for business language to go. We would develop this, and once we would send that out, a student and or person who would be hearing this would react to it, take a test on it, and use it as a tool. Whoops.
Hello.
Hello? Is this Anna Maria? I'm Michael Watkins from the Houston office. I'm calling for your telephone interview.
This is me.
Ah, yes. Good afternoon. Thank you for calling.
First of all, can you tell me why you want this job?
I'm glad you asked that question. I enjoy working in accounting IT very much, but now I'm looking for a more challenging position with more responsibility.
Okay. Secondly, I wonder if you know what Account Master is.
Yes, of course. It's a new accounting software system. In fact, we are already using it in our office. It's working very well so far.
Excellent. Next, could you tell me how you feel about leaving Brazil and coming to live in the USA for 3 years?
That's an excellent question. I've been thinking about it for a long time. I've spoken to my husband.
And then it trails off. So again, what I was doing on a day-to-day basis, I was helping develop programs that were sent out globally to help teach people how to communicate, how to get the next level of their job in an English format. One thing, being in London, you just don't realize that English is the hub. English is everything now, and I'll go into this, and I'm sure you experience it in China as well. People want to learn English. It's the chosen language of the business of the world, because and I'll just use this example, in Thailand, the kids just want English so bad so they can aspire to become a flight attendant. And I was like, well, let's aim higher, but to them, that's an amazing job. So I'm going for it. I'm going too far ahead already. Another thing about living in London, obviously, there wasn't a language barrier, but there was definitely, I would say, a digital barrier where they're much more advanced than we are. Europe and Asia are so far advanced than us. I was like, really? They had QR codes before we did. They had blue casting, which is if you walk into this little area, a text will be sent to your phone about some sort of product or an advertiser wanting to talk to you. So Europe and Asia, another thing to get used to is the fact that, I don't know, I don't want to say the man or someone is keeping that digital revolution coming to us quicker, but they are so far advanced in the way they do communicate over there that it is kind of a sticker shock when you get over there and like, why don't we have this? Why don't we have that type of car? It's all Europe and Asia. It's so different over there. All right, on to Thailand. So how did I get to Thailand? My Shakespeare professor, I was studying Hamlet, I think, and he just nonchalantly mentioned that he started the English department at in Chiang Mai, Thailand. And I just said, hey, Dr. Drexler, how does one get a job in Thailand? It was my senior year, I was graduating, and he just said, give me your resume. I'm like, what resume? College. Here you go. So Dr. Drexler sent it off, and I kind of forgot about it, and I got a phone call and just said, Will, you got the job. Get on a plane on October 11th and be over here for the second semester. You're going to start teaching English. And so prepping, for Asia, I mean, did the folks that already went to China, did you prep into where you were? Did you read any culture shock books or any type of cultural anything? You just got on a plane and went? Did you have any background in the language? No, just went. Did you teach English?
In my life, ever?
In China?
Not in China, no.
No, you went to Ukraine.
I've been to China too.
Okay, but when you worked abroad, what did you do?
I was a writer and a photographer.
taught English. Okay.
I just went online for various resources about, culture shock and general curious what to expect. Definitely just a little bit of preparation.
Mm-hmm. So what? So when you were in China, correct?
Yeah.
So what surprised you the most when you stepped off the plane?
How similar it was. Especially at the airport. I feel like I've had different in the U.S.
Did you go into any different parts, like more villages, or were you still in cities and towns?
Yeah, for the most part, we were in cities and towns. I was really surprised at how developed they really were. We go to a developing country expecting villages and things to find that they're just as advanced as we are. Cell phones, everything, cars, pretty good.
And Bangkok, yes. Chiang Mai, even though it is the second largest city, no. I mean, it's a mix. You can have a high-rise right next to a slum. So again, the shock for me, besides not knowing Thai at all, I can speak a little Thai now, but the shock for me was, you were never ever going to fit in. You go to Europe if you want to fit in, if you look like me. They will always see you as a foreigner. They treat you like a foreigner. I have friends who've been living there for 10 to 15 years, and they will always still call you a farang, which is foreigner. So got on a plane, didn't know a lick of Thai, went straight to Chiang Mai, and my first day, they hand me a teacher booklet and said, you're going to be teaching medical students terminology for the medical field. So I was like, great, I am 22 at the time, and I am going to teach college students medical terms for their doctorate. Great, awesome. It was so intimidating. The differences of the respect of teachers, I don't know what it is in China, but in Thailand, you walk in, I remember walking in first class, the whole class all together creates this loud ooh, which freaked me out. I would have to say, I was like, all right, I was not expecting that. So you have 30 to 40 Thai students, 18 to 20 years old, wanting to learn medical terms, and they all treated me like I was this, I would have to say, almost like a celebrity. It was very interesting because they were not ready for what was going to walk through that door. So, first problem with communication. How do I relate to these students who speak somewhat English, but teach them English? So if they have a question, they can fully form it. So it was a lot of pointing, body language, feeling out the situation, the respect that they wanted to learn from you. They were constantly coming up to me and saying, Ajahn will, and I will. That's one of my classes. I think this was one of my business classes. Sorry, I lost my notes. Sorry. All right, so first day of class, communicating. I just blanked. I'm sorry.
You were saying Ajahn will.
Okay, Ajahn will, which is teacher will. Thank you. Put this away. So, communicating on a daily basis with my students was, and I'm going to focus more on this than London. London was easy. It was English to English. But in Thailand, finding the ways to get through that daily life of being able to make sure that student actually knew what you were talking about and knew what, when you said stethoscope, that's what it was. So I had to find different ways. I had people act out verbs, act out ways to really relate the whole lesson back to the class. So at the end of it, I spent 1 year in Thailand. It was I was 22 to 23. Learning how to communicate through body language, through eye contact and pointing in a country that I was not ever familiar with when I went over. Every day got easier. You adapted. I knew I could never ever fit in, just for the fact that I looked like a dude from Germany. In fact, I did get called Ajahn, I think it was Ajahn Beckham, so they thought I looked like David Beckham, which I did not see. And what was the most valuable experience was when they did get it. So when you're up there and you're trying to, you can write it over and over, and the students that just don't get it, you get the gloss over feeling. You get the students that are right up front wanting to learn, hello. And then you get the ones that, you get the ones that are in the back that just really are there just because. So, I'm rambling now, I'm sorry. I'm going to keep going forward. So, all right. So how did all my experience abroad lead me to the AJC? Going abroad taught me, A, take a risk, get on a plane, travel, see the world, but also strike fear from your vocabulary. I definitely knew I was going to do more than just travel, so the whole Thailand trip boosted my confidence to actually go further. When I came back, I didn't know what to do. Again, resume. College, taught in Thailand. So, again, I used the most powerful resource you can is your network. Is someone trying to get back in? I called on my network of my college campus, and they said, you know, we've got some definitely positive people in Atlanta. So I called in Atlanta, and I worked my networks, and that's how I landed the first job at the AJC as an event coordinator. I was able to use my experience in Thailand and London to show that in lieu of communicating, I'm out there in front of Atlanta daily, weekly, monthly, trying to explain products, trying to explain how things work, different ways to take in your media. Not being afraid to jump into a new experience. I'm trying to think. Next. So, in my nice little speech, my takeaways that I would like to give to you: be heard and find your voice. If you find an easier way to communicate, whether it be writing, speaking, acting, whatever, find that way, find that strength in being able to move it forward, because when you find your way to communicate to other people, you're golden. You can translate that to lots and lots of different cultures. One of your most powerful resources is your network. Use your friends, use your teacher. They have the contacts. If you want to keep moving and growing, keep talking to different lots of people. Study the culture to find your message. You got to know the culture. If you're moving to China again, or if you're going back, I'm hoping to go back to Thailand to visit, that the culture itself, don't think that, you know, it's going to be the same, but it's such an amazing lesson that to A, realize what we have back here, but B, what they don't have and what can be improved on. Don't put your ideals on the society you're visiting. I have too many friends. We had a Princeton in Asia program that was over there when I was over there, and a lot of people would show up and they would choke. They would not know what to do. They said, well, Will, I just went to Vietnam and I saw this little girl's leg blown off, meaning it was blown off, and she explained to me what happened, and the girl from Princeton totally freaked out and left. She couldn't handle teaching English in Thailand because she wasn't ready to accept the fact of what was around her. Embrace the reality of the country you're living in. When I first moved to Thailand, I walked into my apartment, cockroaches in the bathroom, just a kind of grunge atmosphere, and I was like, you know what? This is my life right now, and I'm going to move forward. It's going to work. And the last thing, I leave you with a book that has actually, and it doesn't necessarily have to do, it doesn't have anything to do with communication, but it does have everything to do with you moving forward in your career. Poke the Box by Seth Godin. It's an easy read, but it gives you, I guess, the permission to communicate, the permission to go beyond than just what's inside the box. If and I'll use the example that he uses. Poke the Box starts off with, if I set down a box with lights and buttons in front of you, we're a little timid. Might not touch it. We've built up a fear of wanting to know it might do something. But if you put it in front of a little kid, oh, they're hitting it. They're hitting the buttons to make sure the lights come on. They're making sure that they want to know what's going to happen. So, it's a good read. It inspires you, and for me, it's just helped. It's helped clarify a lot in my life, in work-wise. I wouldn't say my life. All right, so with the last thing I'm going to leave you, I went and recently visited another country, and it's talking about a different way of communication. Can you guess what country this is?
Alabama.
Very close. Not Canada. Not Australia. Not Germany. Ireland. I just recently went to Ireland, and this is for mushy peas. So again, we find different ways. This made me laugh, but this is considered great marketing there. I guess they sell a lot of mushy peas because these things were all over Ireland. So with that, I love the fact that I ended with this photo. This is great. To tie it all in together, finding your own way to communicate and being able to adapt to a different culture, whether it be your work environment, a new state, a new country, is vital for your survival in the career field. So my hope is that this just inspires you to keep on traveling, keep on moving, and finding new ways to use your strongest communication tool and keep providing excellent feedback. So that's me, and that's my little presentation.